All right.
Ready to go? Anytime you want to start?
Yeah. Started.
Let's go.
All right.
Give me the
so you're
signal.
Live.
Huh? Hey, let's go ahead and get started here. First off, thank you for coming to Dragon Tail Books this afternoon. I'm Rob Bignell. I'm a local book editor and a longtime author. I've got about 60 plus books out now. I've lost count. And my latest books are the Storytelling 101 series. But I want to really thank Dragon Tail Books for hosting this event and putting it all together. I'll be, I guess, emceeing the event, so to speak. And we're going to start off first with a question and answer section with our guest, John, who we'll introduce in just a second. And then after that, John will be reading from the book, and then he can meet and greet and sign books and talk with everybody who's here. So first, let me introduce our guest that we have is Jonathan Hillman. Jonathan is the author of The Wishing Machine that just recently came out. Jonathan's got extensive history writing. Most recently, Big Wig was his first book that he had. Received a lot of national attention, including the Pizza Hut. What was it? The Pizza Hut Award. The Pizza Hut Book It Award. Make sure I get it right. He's a graduate of Hillman University, where he has an MFA in Children and Young Adult program. And I just learned a few minutes ago he has moved to Menominee. He is now officially a Menominee resident. So we got him out of Minnesota and saved him. So hey, let's go ahead and start with some questions and answers. First,
Sure.
Thanks, Jonathan, for being here. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
Yeah, John, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you became a writer. What was that crystallized moment when you said, I'm going to be a writer for the rest of my life?
I think I always, really loved books and reading. I'm a particularly slow reader, but there was always books in the house, and so definitely it was like dreaming of stories and that sort of thing from a really young age. But it wasn't really until like college, like in between semesters, like in the summers, I was like writing novels, and like it started to kind of take over, like when I was in classes, I'm like writing stories. So I eventually like kind of took it more seriously and decided to go to grad school for it, which was really like when I started to like buckle down and I tried several different forms in grad school, and I got lucky with these two books, which were just like an assignment with my advisor in grad school. So yeah, and now I'm still plugging away at novel like fiction. So yeah.
So how many unfinished novels do you have in your collection?
I have there's several older ones, but there's two I'm actively working on. One for middle grade readers and one for YA, so teens. Yeah.
Awesome. So ultimately, you want to become a novelist, but you're known as a children's writer now.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. How did you get into children's writing? I mean, it's quite a jump from writing novels for adults to children's picture books.
Yeah. Well, my longer stories ended up being kind of for kids, and then I didn't consider doing for much younger kids. But then as I was working on these assignments, and we, in the program, we were exposed to so many picture books. We had to read about 36 picture books per year, I want to say. We had a very like substantial reading list, and I just kind of fell in love with the form. I feel like the combination of words and pictures can be like some of the most powerful storytelling, and it's accessible to everyone, which I think is really a highlight of that format. And it sort of feels like songwriting in some way without the musical element. So it like, for me, it appealed to that. Like I'm a big fan of music too, and I felt like it felt a little bit like writing song lyrics in a certain way, and picture books are very musical. So so it appealed to that without me having to like learn an instrument or something if I ever wanted to write music. So
it's interesting that you mentioned that it appeals to everybody. It's not just children. I always thought a great children's book is one that adults can really enjoy. It's kind of like a great children's cartoon is one that adults can still enjoy. It's
totally,
whether there be inside jokes or not. And so on. Some of the best. And the influence of children's books. I think if everybody thinks about what are the books that influenced you, you may go back and think to like middle school or junior high or high school, some of those novels you read. But I bet everybody could name certain children's books that we've all read. I mean, we've all read like Dr. Seuss, What was your reading list like as a child? What kind of books were you reading?
The first book I ever read was The Foot Book by Dr.
Oh,
Seuss. I remember vividly, like, and I don't remember, like, learning to read, but I remember, like, having read a book and being, like, really empowered by it. And, yeah, so Dr. Seuss, definitely, like, I'm a Disney kid, so I was really saturated with, like, storytelling in that way, but also, like, the book versions of some of those. Yeah, and then as I got older, of course, there was like Harry Potter was big in my generation, and yeah, and then I really fell in love more as an adult, even reading young adult literature, like so for teens, but just like the way it was written in a way that was accessible to everyone, I really gravitated toward. So yeah, and then this is like the ultimate accessibility is even younger. So yeah.
So the wishing machine. How did you come up with the story idea for this book?
Yeah, so actually in my grad program, my advisor, it was my third semester, and she said, you can't get through this program without trying to write picture books. And so like for a little stretch of time there, I'm just like looking around, like what could be a picture book? And I was reading another book, actually a middle grade book called The Thing About Luck.
Oh, yeah.
And I read that, and I misread the word washing machine as wishing machine.
Yeah.
And then I immediately got to thinking about just like what I imagined a laundromat right away for some reason, and just because of the coin element and like making wishes on coins. And so then it just sort of started to like develop from there. It's gone through several drafts, and it has had like a very like winding journey to publication that has shaped the story also. And little by little, the story of the main character became clear. And yeah, and now I'm like, how did it actually come into existence? I don't know. It seems like magic.
Right.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, kind of like putting the coin in.
Exactly.
Magical.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. That's really neat how all these different metaphors and analogies sort of came together in this story. And the great thing is they're universal, maybe isn't the right word, but they're things that almost all of us have experienced. All of us have been to laundromats. All of us have put in money into wishing wells and so on sometime in our life, right? So it went through several drafts. Can you tell us, give us a secret, something that didn't make the book at all, that was maybe in one of the earlier drafts that you had, but ultimately got cut out or excised?
Yeah, this book was really interesting because so in 2018 I wrote it, and we sent it out to some editors, and one editor really loved it, and she brought it to acquisitions, and ultimately it wasn't acquired. And she gave me notes, and then I did a revision for her, and then she had left the industry. So it was kind of a dormant project. But that in that version I had sent to her, I had actually cut out like what is actually a lot of what's in the book now. So this book, it was like a matter of cutting it out and then cutting stuff out and then realizing how necessary some parts of it were. And so then she did, like years later, like a couple years later, my agent had like resuscitated the project with her without me knowing. And then we got on the phone, and I was actually able to like work more one-on-one with her. And then she acquired it at Scholastic, and then left Scholastic and went to Simon & Schuster and took it with her. So it was just like the whole thing was like a very long process. But yeah, definitely like working with that particular editor really like shaped the story as it is in this form. So
Because she believed in your story.
Exactly.
And what you were saying.
exactly.
So when she gave you all those notes on what to change, how much, when we think of all the big corporation publishers, the big five, for example, how much was marketing involved in deciding that? Or did the editor really focus on, hey, this is what you need to do to tell a better story? Or did she give you tips on this is what you need to do to get a story that's going to sell?
Yeah, so the earlier drafts of this book were really they were like kind of zoomed out. They're like focused on these like more of like world issues, and really like what ultimately happened was we like honed it down into like a singular person's story, and that really made it effective, I think. Yeah, and so really by the time it sold, it felt like everyone was on board already. Like people really responded to the newest draft, so I didn't have a lot of pushback, in terms of like what will sell or that sort of thing. They just really believed and loved the project, so that was really nice.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So many novelists run into that. Where they're like, oh, you got to take this out, or you got to add this. In.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know you mentioned you were a screenwriter or studying screenwriting. I
Yeah.
know that's obviously a major thing in screenwriting. Where
Yeah.
I know one novelist who lives in Milwaukee now, and it was a book about a single son. He was like 10 years old, and he's telling the story about what happened to him in the past. And the screenwriter said, well, we need to have a younger brother or sister story because it won't sell a single child movie. Yeah, and then he's like, well, I don't want to rewrite my story, you know, for that to happen, because that's not what the story's about. But interesting, little side story there. So, you know, the one thing I really noticed was that when I read this book is, well, it has lots of appeals, the sound in it, especially when the clanging of the coins, they go into the machine and that. It still feels kind of toned down compared to, say, Bigwig. Bigwig's got lots of swirling pictures and lots of swirling words, just even the way the words are arranged on the page. And that, what was that a real conscious choice to try to do something different than Bigwig? Or maybe this came first and Bigwig was a conscious choice that he did?
Yeah, well, Bigwig came first, and Bigwig was very, it was always really like flamboyant and like big, you know, so like that really felt natural there, and I wanted that one to sound more like a pop song and more like there's a loose rhyme and just a little more infectious or whatever. And with the Wishing Machine, it just always felt more heartfelt and like spare and like just a little more restrained. But definitely like the sounds of the laundromat were like very like present in my writing process. So yeah, I feel like we did take out a lot of the sonics in the Wishing Machine because it became kind of overkill in certain ways or like changed the pace of the story. But yeah, I think we landed on kind of a more understated text, which I like. So yeah.
Right, yeah, so it doesn't sound the same or look the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just a repeat of what you'd originally done.
Yeah.
The other thing is you had different illustrators for each book.
Yeah.
I noticed, and you know, so well, Bigwig. Hold this up and show it. One thing I noticed because it's printed on the same quality paper, but Bigwig has lots of certain bright colors in it. You'll notice lots of sparkles and some that really stand out. Whereas this, you know, I think is a little more understated, maybe a little more earth tones are being used in it. Was that something that you came up with or the illustrator worked with? How did that all evolve?
Yeah, so with Bigwig, I had sold the book to Simon & Schuster, who ultimately got the Wishing Machine in the end. But they basically, with that book, they basically just assigned an illustrator to it, and I was just very happy and lucky with Levi Hastings who illustrated. And with the Wishing Machine, I actually had contractual approval of a lot of stuff, so I definitely was in conversation. There's some historical equity issues in the publishing industry, and particularly with illustration. And so my only ask really was, I want a woman of color specifically, because I want more seats at the table for people who haven't been represented in the literature. So that was kind of one of my guiding things, is we were actually like looking for women illustrators. And and Nadia Alam, this is her debut, and she's since sold a bunch of projects that are like really big name authors. So I feel really lucky to have snagged her right now. And I fell in love with her cozy aesthetic and just how, and now the thing I love most about these illustrations are like, I can be like really precise and mechanical about things. And I felt like she really brought kind of this handmade quality, and like, it just feels a little more human than maybe I could achieve if I were to illustrate it or something. So yeah, I feel really lucky, and I definitely feel like it fits the story. Yeah,
they're both books are beautifully illustrated. They really are. So
thank you.
I'm very fortunate to have a great illustrator. What's next for you then? I know you're working on a novel, but you must have another children's book idea out, I bet.
So right now we don't have any contracted picture books, but I am in the process of submitting things and writing longer fiction, of course. And actually we're working on adapting Bigwig, so that's really cool. I don't think I can really I can't really say it, but it's musical. I'll say that. There's going to be music involved. So I've heard some snippets of demos and things like that of songs, and it's really cool. So I'm excited about that, and we'll see where it goes. But yeah, for now, I'm actually like in story meetings for that, which is really fun, and like, yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
That'd be great. We'll have to let us know when we
I
get
will, for
closer
sure,
how
for
that's
sure.
gonna go. I know we have lots of children here and they're really anxious to hear the wishing machine. So I'm gonna step aside with the questions and let Jonathan go ahead and read the story for everybody. All right.
Awesome.
So thank you so much. For
Thank
taking
you
time
so
to
much.
answer
It was great
questions.
chatting. Yeah, for sure. All right, is everybody ready for the wishing machine now that we've talked all about it? Now, this is a book about doing the laundry. Who here knows what the laundry is? Ella, you know? Awesome. So this book is about the laundry. Hi, Penny. And like I said, I wrote this book and it was illustrated by Nadia Alam. So the pictures you're seeing were written by another person, and I think she just did a beautiful job. So this is the wishing machine. Oops. All right. Every Sunday after cereal, we walk to the laundromat, Mom and me. Every Sunday, the same squeaky floors. Every Sunday, the same sweet smells. Every Sunday, we see our friends. But this Sunday is different. This Sunday is our last Sunday at the laundromat. Tomorrow, we are leaving to live with Grandpa. Grandpa's trailer is tiny, but it's stuffed with caramel candies and wooden birdhouses and a dog named Sparky. Who here likes dogs? Dogs? I like dogs too. Having a dog, I think, is not so bad, and time with Grandpa is not so bad either. But Grandpa's trailer is far away, too far to walk to the laundromat, and it won't be just Mom and me anymore. I feel sad to say goodbye, but Mom says if we have any coins left, we'll buy a bag of cookies. I just want everyone to know that there are cookies available if you get hungry seeing cookies in this. Mom drops the coins in the slot. Clink, clink, clink. Like a wishing well, I say. Mom smiles, her first smile today. What do you wish for, Sam, my Sam? I shrug and say, I don't know. But on the inside, I know exactly what I wish for. To stay in our apartment. Mom pushes the button. Thunk! The door locks. Clunk! The machine wakes up like Grandpa from a nap. The water whispers, wish, wish, wish. So I ask Mom, when do I get my wish? Sam, my Sam, sometimes the good things take time. My head spins with dreams of our apartment. A room for Mom, a room for me, flower pots in the window, and lots of places to play. And best of all, we'll get to stay. We'll walk to the laundromat every Sunday. I can't keep it to myself. I run, 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 asking everyone, what do you wish for? A new scooter, a green card, a fat, fluffy cat. Now, who here likes cats? Me too. I like them. Then I run back to the wishing machine and wait for an answer. Ding, ding, ding. My wish is almost ready. First, we must move our clothes from the washer to the dryer. Mom drops the coins in the slot. Clink, clink, clink. She pushes the button. Thunk. The door locks. Clunk. The dryer takes even longer. We wait and we walk. I want to cheer Mom up. The dryers are singing, I say. Hmm, 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 hmm. I spin until I'm dizzy. Mom smiles her second smile today. They're all our wishes, I say. After a lot more waiting, Mom opens the door. I dig in the dryer, but I don't find my wish. An apartment is too big, I think, to fit inside the machine. Why don't you try again, Mom says. She drops the leftover coins in my hands. Clink, clink, clink. I almost forgot about my cookies. This time it's my turn to push the buttons. Rowl, rowl. The machine wakes up like a rusty robot, blinking. It spits out a crinkly bag, and then another surprise. Clang, 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 tick-a-tick-a-tick. The coins sparkle as they spill. The machine heard my wish. Enough for the rent, I shout. Mom smiles her third smile today. Can we keep it, I ask. I'm sorry, Mom says. This is not our money. We give back the coins. But we keep the cookies. 1 for Mom, 2 for me, and the rest for our friends. We walk into the snow. After a few slushy steps, I stop. Mom never made her wish, so I ask her, what do you wish for? Mom pauses, then says, I want us to be together and happy wherever we are. I want that too, I say, smiling because I know no matter where we go, we'll be together every Sunday. Mom and me. The end.
How about some questions for John? Anybody have any questions?
Q&A.
All right.
Yeah. You. What's your name? Nice to meet you. Do you have a question? You're getting a kitty, you said? Oh, really? Cool. Do you know what you're going to name your kitty? Tim? Oh, cool. I like that name. Any other questions?
Or even
Or comments. Or cats.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no questions, then we'll just open it up and you can walk up and say hi to John and get your books signed. We'll be purchasing the books up front, so you can just go up to the counter and pay for them there, and then bring them back and John signs them for you. So, or you just stop up and say hi to him.
Hi.